Good evening, hello and welcome. You're watching Brass Tacks. I'm Anusha Soni. Now, we talk about the story which is emerging after India's loss at the World Cup. You had the Prime Minister who met Team India after their loss to Australia in the Cricket World Cup final. And a video in which the Prime Minister warmly greets the players, making an attempt to boost their morale, has indeed gone viral. But the open vicious tirade of hate against the elected leader of the country is appalling on many counts. First, it makes no logical sense at all. Before the match, there were many who were busy making theories about how the Prime Minister was there at the stadium to take credit of the World Cup victory. But after an unexpected loss, even his consolation seems to hurt the naysayers. It seems that the Prime Minister is damned by the opposition either ways. While informed, substantiated critique of the Prime Minister or his government is indicative of vibrant democracy, the present troll army, and not just of the nameless and the faceless, but also from the opposition camp, only shows vicious hate and somewhat malice against the democratically elected Prime Minister of the country. Come to the second limb of the argument. Terms like Panauti only reiterate superstitious narratives against which country's first Prime Minister and Congress leader Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru firmly fought against in his entire political career. The Nehruvian progressive morality stands starkly against the narrative of dogmas and any kind of superstition. The present attack lacks any kind of ideological or moral basis to it. And without any logical, intellectual or ideological basis, is this a sheer tirade of hate and insult against the Prime Minister? Is a sporting activity being used for political gains by certain people who want to make some electoral gains in this election season? We talk about all of these facets on Brass Tacks tonight.
याद है? हाँ क्या? पनौती वो अच्छा भला वहाँ पे हमारे लड़के वहाँ पे वर्ल्ड कप जीत जाते, वो वहाँ पे पनौती हरवा दिया। टीवी वाले ये नहीं कहेंगे, मगर जनता जानती।
राहुल गांधी ने शब्दों का प्रयोग भारत के प्रधानमंत्री के लिए किया है, वो अशोभनीय है, अमर्यादित है।
And what sparked the debate was also Priyanka Chaturvedi's tweet, which is part of our Motorola's India's best 5G smartphone brands tweet of the day.
Hello, Moto.
Well, she said, and I quote right now, the Indian cricketers clearly look uncomfortable having to deal with the loss and then have cameras thrust on them inside the dressing room for Prime Minister team to record the pep talk. Yeah, you can troll this tweet as much as you want. That's what she said, Priyanka Chaturvedi, in that open attack and a jibe against the Prime Minister of the country. She's not the only one. There are multiple leaders from the opposition camp who have taken this position. While we talk about superstition and we talk about various other social narratives that shouldn't be spoken by the political leaders, is this really the right way to criticize the elected Prime Minister of the country? But no one can deny the Indian cricket team gave a stellar performance, which is why we ask the question, is sport being used for political gains? Is a sporting activity like cricket, which is a religion in this country, being used for siyasat?
Hello, Moto.
Well, let's talk about this debate to our guests who are joining us on the broadcast tonight. We have Mr. Tom Varan, who's the national spokesperson of BJP. We have Mr. Mohan Kumar Mangal, who's the spokesperson of the Congress Party. Mr. Sumant C. Raman, who's a political analyst. And Sanjay Rana, who's a political analyst, joining us on the broadcast. Mohan, I want to come to you first because my question is also to the Congress Party. And I believe Congress Party is one of the parties that takes pride in itself, and rightly so, for the kind of reforms that was undertaken Congress party led the country right after our freedom struggle, the kind of reforms that were unleashed in this country, and the Nehruvian progressivism, over which all of us are very proud of. I'm a student of law, and I've read about the drastic social reforms that Pandit Nehru had brought in our legal system, in our constitution, ensuring that they implemented. For that party to talk the language of superstition and use terms like Panauti, does it really befit that?
Shweta, I think we're making a mountain out of a molehill. I saw an excerpt of Mr. Gandhi's speech where, really said it in jest, frankly. And there is, I'm not sure who started trending the word, but it trended on Twitter, formerly Twitter, now X, all day, I believe. Now, there's a lot more substantive issues to talk about when it comes to the World Cup final. It is our players played incredibly well throughout the tournament, so all compliments to them regardless. But Mr. Modi didn't have to go into their dressing room with his cameras and make a show of controlling them. And if you look at it, I actually think it is awkward. I agree with Chaturvedi, the way the players were reacting as well as Mr. Modi pulled Mohammad Shami's head towards him. Both make it seem like it's too much of play acting and too much of drama, frankly. Also, the selection of the pitch has been an issue. There's been controversy around how tickets were issued in this World Cup. There's been international controversy around leaving the captain team on the podium alone. A lot of it has been in very bad taste. I'm not going to comment on Panauti because, like I said, I think that was just said in jest by Mr. Gandhi. It's not like a concerted campaign to try and prove that Mr. Modi is some sort of evil omen. None of that actually is true. But let's just one second. Let me finish. But I just want to say that if we say that we keep politics out of sports, I think Mr. Modi should start from home. I mean, doing the final and the opening match at the stadium named after himself, trying to build up to a fact where he was there only to make sure that he tries and takes credit like he has in the past. And many fellow channels of yours, more so I think in the vernacular media, were building this up to be Mr. Modi's victory more than the Indian sports team's victory. If you look at the kind of the news that was running the day before.
I'm only accountable for what I ask to you on this show, and that's your right to hold me accountable and ask me questions if you want to. But a few things that you've said in your opening remarks, according to me as a listener and a journalist, are circular in nature. For once, you argue that he was there to take credit, and when the Prime Minister goes inside the dressing room just because a video is made, you also discredit the consolation that was given. I wonder if the video hadn't come out, whether the critique would have been that, look, the Prime Minister didn't even go and meet the players after the loss. All he wanted was a victory. And if this was such a non-important issue, if this was something which should not be really given that much attention, why are the biggest voices in the opposition camp really talking about it? This is not an issue. It's an issue which has been made an issue by the opposition, not so much by the BJP.
I don't think any the biggest voices in the opposition camp are running a concerted campaign to try and prove that Mr. Modi is a Panauti. Like I said, from that one tiny excerpt from Mr. Gandhi's speech, which was actually prompted by someone in the audience, he made light of it. I don't think that is like a concerted campaign. I would disagree with you. In fact, I would think you're trying to make it a concerted campaign by attributing it to Bish hate and the, your little monologue you did in the beginning. Surely makes it seem that you're more interested in having Mr. Modi feed his.
Please take the liberty and take all the personal jibes you want. I'm not going to respond to that. We are going to engage in a debate. That's all it takes.
I'm
giving, of course, I have an opinion. I put it on the table.
Hear me out.
I have an opinion. Which I put on the table. That's what we are debating. And if I to camouflage my opinion as some degree of objectivity, that would be problematic. I'm not doing that. So I'm being intellectually honest here. Mr. Tom Vara, can take that point to you. It is being said by various opposition leaders that even if the Prime Minister went there to meet the players, they seemed pretty awkward in that interaction and perhaps a bit too much. It was also said the manner in which the Prime Minister hugged was inappropriate. I'm sure you heard, the leader from the Congress party talking about the gestures or the manner in which that video was shot. How do you see all these criticisms really coming in? Do you believe there is any kind of substance to it, and whether the BJP would really want to respond to it?
Well, he sidestepped the question of Panauti by saying that was just a joke, And if I extend that Panauti joke, what Rahul Gandhi is for Congress is maybe some other word can be used. I leave it at that. I let it rest. Now, as the question
really
the Prime
a joke.
Minister, Prime Minister going and meeting the players. Let me be very candid. How many Prime Ministers have gone in that dark hour to meet with the players when they are in a miserable condition? How many Prime Ministers of the Congress Party, or for that matter, anybody else, have had the time to go and stand with them? That is the attitude that should be looked at. And here, the party, Rahul Gandhi's grandmother introduced in the constitution what? Scientific spirit. If this is the scientific spirit, I think they should close their shop and take a walk. That's precisely what they should do. What kind of language these people use, and that same league of Mani Shankar Iyer and his niche, the word that he used against the Prime Minister, this has been a chronic problem with this party, and they end up losing out. They're the real losers because the country cannot take it anymore. You call the Prime Minister of this country, I mean, it's very clever, you didn't name him, but the point is it was all master plan. And then this great lady Chaturvedi, she comes out saying, well, the cameras are there. Cameras are everywhere when a cricket match is going on. And if the Prime Minister enters any places, the cameras will follow. This is nothing that is stage managed as the Congress wants us to believe. The reality is, Mr. Kumar Mangalam, you may grin, but the reality is you are the real Panauti of...
I really believe, sir. I really believe, and I've been candid from the
Did he
outset
just
of this
call me a
debate.
Panauti?
No, 1 second.
Are you going to let him know that's a
no,
personal
1
jibe? Are
second.
you going to let him get
Listen
away
to
with
me.
that?
Mr. Mangalam, listen to me.
I would like
Listen
you to
to me.
apologize for calling me a Panauti.
1 second. Listen to me. That's exactly what I'm coming to. That's exactly what I'm coming
Please,
to. My request is, I began this show by saying that terms like Panauti are regressive and defeat the spirit of progressivism in this country. And my request to all the panelists is to stop name calling each other and not to use these terms. We don't go by them, and we can't have double standards where we are critiquing the opposition and certain people for using that term elected leader of the country, and then we go ahead and call each other those names. I don't think that's right. But Mr. Kumar Mangalam, do you have a response to what Mr. Tom Vadakan has said?
I mean, there wasn't much of substance that he said that I could respond to, except to say that I don't think of myself as a Panauti. I mean, he's going to call me that. I will point out that the way he called me Panauti was in a lot more anger than Mr. Gandhi referred to that same term for Mr. Modi. Like I said, look at the text of the way he said it. Second thing I want to say is the Prime Minister is not this person who cannot be questioned or cannot be asked or cannot be made fun of in any way. Please don't hold him up to this sort of high altar where nobody can touch him. He himself has used terms like Jersey cow and hybrid calf for Mrs. Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi.
And he's been criticized for that.
And
he's been criticized for that.
And he did that in election campaigns. He just said 2 days ago that Congress should hang. What does he mean when he's talking about?
And we had a debate on that as well. We had a debate on that as well as. But that's the point, that each time a political narrative falls down or sports in this manner is used in a political narrative, and we use terms like Panauti, is that really something acceptable? Mr. Sumant Siraman has a point to make. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Anusha, 2-3 quick points. First of all, I think I must point out that you had muted the audience response in the video that you played out of Rahul Gandhi. Maybe you could have played it out with the original audio where the crowd actually greeted the statement with a big roar. Now that was, I would not want to say it was deliberately.
No, sir, sometimes the audio which is coming to us also blocks the ambience noise. It's also the technical aspect of a recording sometimes.
It's on Twitter. You can.
Yeah, it's also on Twitter. There is a feed that we get, right? And from that feed we put out that audio. Yes.
Yeah, very good. Okay, the second point that I wanted to make was, when did Congress Prime Minister go and console the team? The last time the World Cup was held in India, the Congress Prime Minister did not have to go and console because the team won the World Cup. So I think that Mr. Vadakan is sort of forgetting fundamental facts. In addition to that, we also won the 2007 T20 World Cup. We also won the 2013 Champions Trophy. All of that
17th April 2005,
so they did not
New Delhi, India-Pakistan One-Day International. India-Pakistan One-Day International, 17th April 2005. We had Manmohan Singh and Mr. Parvez
For
Musharraf,
India again.
No,
and
one
Pakistan
second.
won the match by 159 runs. Should we go ahead and blame our former Prime Minister? I don't think that's a logic. I don't think that's any logic, sir.
Can I just make a tiny point?
One
Can I
second.
just
Let
make one
Mr.
tiny point? I'm sorry to-
Mr. Suman
No, one
Siraman make
second.
his point. Mr.
Let
Suman
me
Siraman.
make my
Yes,
point.
yes.
Mr. Vadakan made this point. This how many prime ministers, Congress prime. I did not raise the issue. He raised it. So I'm just pointing out to him that between 2007 and 2014, India won three. Between 2004 and 2014, India won 3 ICC championships, and since 2014, we haven't won a single ICC trophy.
Okay.
That's besides the point. I'm not getting into this.
What is the
Panauti
logic?
thing. The
Where's
second
the logic,
very
Mr.
important.
I
No
thought
logic
you
to
were
this.
a logical
Yeah.
person.
No, there's no
I
logic. I'm
thought
not
that
getting
there's
into
no
this.
logic.
Mr. Vadakan, I'll
I
come
am
to you.
not-
You respond to him. Let him
Let me-
finish his point.
I
I'll
am-
come to you, sir.
I'm
Come to you.
pointing
Matches
it
of
out.
hockey, there
I
are
am
other
pointing
games.
it out
We have lost their
only
time.
because
Mr. Vadakan, let him
One
finish.
second.
Mr. Vadakan, let him
This is
finish.
no
Just
Yeah.
stating facts, Mr. Vadakan. Let him finish.
This is
I
not
had
factually
no
correct.
intention of pointing this out until Mr. Vadakan brought up the point of Congress Prime Ministers.
Okay. I'm putting it in that context. Let's move on. Let's move forward. Let's move forward. Yeah.
Let's look at the video itself. I mean, anybody who sees the video can make out that the team is distinctly uncomfortable. It would have been a wonderful gesture. The Prime Minister had gone in, spent some time with the team, consoled them, and at the most put out a photograph. Why would you need this kind of a stilted video? Rohit Sharma's hand is being pulled from his pocket. Mohammad Shami's head is being pulled. I mean, it looks extremely sad to see something like this.
But
And
I mean,
none of the players.
I'm also a bit appalled by the fact that how are we presuming everything as to the players
No,
were
you see the video.
uncomfortable or somebody
You
else
see the
was
video.
uncomfortable.
No.
I have
Why
a lot
don't
of.
you look at the video? Why
You
don't you
realize
I have not seen the video.
There's a-
No, I have
I
seen
think
the
you've not
video,
seen
sir.
the
It has
video.
been playing on television all day. I've been working all day. Mr.
Yeah,
Sanjay
yeah,
Rana,
if
Mr.
you-
Sanjay Rana, a quick point for you. Is too much being read into that particular video that has been put out?
Anushka, good evening. Good evening to fellow panelists. First of all, it's very disgraceful the comment which people are making on calling our Prime Minister as a Panauti. We fail to understand that 50% of Indian voters voted him and we calling him Panauti. He bring our economy from 10 to 5th. We are number 2 in
haven't voted
mobile
him in.
manufacturing. Just hang on, man, hang on. And he bring automobile industry from 10 to, we are number 10 at this point of time. We calling him Panauti. What we will call a person who lost 42 or 40 elections out of 56 elections? What will call that gentleman who bring his party from sky to bottom? What will call this kind of statement absolutely unacceptable to anyone, whosoever is this, whether it's a opposition party or Rahul Gandhi or whoever. We cannot call Prime Minister. He's our Prime Minister. He's not belong to one party. He's belong to India, our country. Number one. Number two, when we talk about somebody said how many trophies we won in last 9 years. Obviously, if you look at the number of medals which we got in Olympics, I would say in Asian Games or World Champions. So you need to look at all the parameters. We can look at one individual game. Obviously, it's a game we lost. Obviously, it's a game we can win or we lost. Doesn't matter, but we cannot call anyone a Panauti. How can you call a Panauti? We look at our own self. These Congresses
Mr. Kumar Mangalam, okay.
On social media for 4 days.
Yeah.
3 days, ever since the game. It is not as if Rahul Gandhi.
And Anushka, one more point.
One second. Mr. Raman is right that it's been going on social media for the last few days, but a lot of trolling goes on social media. But that doesn't mean that a senior leader like Mr. Rahul Gandhi or any other opposition leader needs to speak about, we really need to speak about that kind of trolling.
I'm calling Rahul Gandhi.
Absolutely.
Papu, or when did you last do a debate?
We have done multiple debates on Rahul Gandhi. No, sir. This is unsubstantiated. I do this slot and I do this debate very often. I am not even going to use that word on national television because I don't think Mr. Rahul Gandhi should be addressed like that. Any leader for that matter should be caricatured like that. So I'm not going to use. We have debated multiple times on this issue, the narrative that the BJP has used against the Congress. So I don't think that argument really holds. Mr. Kumar Mangalam, I'm coming back to you, and that's the point I want to talk to you about, which is about the ideological conviction. And this is one point on which the Congress party historically has questioned the BJP, which is that what are your ideological commitments? When you talk about progressive ideology, superstition, or the fight against superstition. I can quote you multiple things from multiple books that I've read written by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. And isn't it defeating of that ideology and that thinking the moment Mr. Rahul Gandhi uses the word, even if it's in a lighter moment, it's used on a public platform?
No, I don't think so. I'll just have to agree with you there, and at the risk of repeating myself ad nauseum, say that he just said it in one moment in a speech. I don't think it's this concerted campaign that we're going out into town and saying that Mr. Modi is actually an evil omen for the country. Nobody is doing that. What happened was, Mr. Sumant Raman presented you with a whole bunch of facts around how we've lost cricket finals and semi-finals for the last 10 years.
Right.
And that sort of gained steam. But again, I would have to say that no senior leaders in the Congress party really are pushing that campaign in any which way. We're proud of our heritage and an ideology of this country being built with a scientific temper as Mr. Nehru intended for it to be built, exactly, as you said. Now, I just want to respond to a couple of things. One, this whole thing about did any Prime Minister ever go to console any sports person? We won't know because cameras don't follow all the previous Prime Ministers everywhere as much as they follow Mr. Modi. I agree with Mr. Sumant Raman. Of course, you could argue you don't see anything awkward with the way the players were behaving, but all of us body language and we saw something different there. He could have just taken a photo, have just had a small conversation with the team indoors in private, and that mean a lot. If you remember when France lost the World Cup, Macron went out onto the field. He didn't enter the dressing room of the French team at all. And if I take Mr. Kirti Azad's statement that was made, I think maybe 2 or 3 hours ago, he said ICC does not allow anyone apart from players and support staff to enter the dressing room. So again, Mr. Modi is abusing the privilege.
The political affiliations of any individual also need to be looked at when we look at the substantial arguments that they're making, isn't it, Mr. Kumar?
He was, yes, sure, but you would have to then argue that he's lying. Are those ICC rules? I'm sure Mr. Raman, who isn't affiliated with a political this thing, has quite a history of knowing cricket rules.
We need a cricket expert on that. Importantly, I don't think any statement has come from any cricketing body or any senior player which has said that rules have been broken. I'm sure the BJP spokesperson would want to respond to that. Mr. Tom Varakan, the argument that some kind of rules were broken when the Prime Minister went into the dressing room.
I have responded to that tweet and I have said that when a politician wears his multiple hats, he should be sure what he says, because there is no evidence of whatever he said, that there is no entry for anybody there. This is the Prime Minister of our country. I mean, come on, if the Prime Minister of this country can't go to any place or there is prohibited by Kirti Azad, I'm sorry. I have not heard any cricketer of standing talking this language. I've told them, you wear one hat, either you're a sportsman or you're a politician. You can't wear these multiple hats and make rules that well, no, Prime Minister cannot enter there. He went and stood with them in that Dhaka. I don't think that anything to do with publicity. Cameras come. I mean, I've been handling cameras for years, and I know when a media function happens as a dignitary, cameras follow. This is not the VIP saying, "Come, please come and take my stand." I mean, it's too juvenile to believe that this congressman have come to this level of understanding. We organize cameramen for Sonia Gandhi. There's has to be a whole of cameramen standing there. And they are invited to do the needful. This is what I'm saying from my own experience. And Mr. Kumaramangalam may deny it, but I know Kumaramangalam has joined Congress when? He has no clue how the Congress works.
No, I'm sure Mr. Mohan Kumar Mangalam would have lost it.
Another personal attack. Are you going to keep allowing?
No, I'm not allowing any personal attack. That's why I came to you,
nobody in BJP on me this way.
No, nobody is allowing any personal attack, and I reiterate. Please go ahead, Mr. Sumansi Raman, then I'll go to Mr. Kumar Mangalam. Yes.
Yeah. First of all, you can check this out with anyone. The ICC rules are very clear. Even for selectors wanting to enter the dressing room, they have to get prior permission. Forget about people outside the game of cricket. Even if a selector of that very same team wants to go in, because there are security issues in terms of maintaining.
That is for selectors. That is for brokers.
No, sir, but I think this narrative is right now being made about the rules and other things. I am not aware of any rule which has been cited. Anything that has been cited so far. And this is much after the match. not even during the match. Can you quote me the particular rule that you're talking about? I'm not going to allow this in thin air, but if you have the rule and if you have the ICC rule book in front of you, please tell me that rule that does not allow the Prime Minister of that particular country to go to the dressing room right after the match has concluded. This is not during the match, this is after the match. If you can quote me that rule, we'll talk more about it. But Mr. Kumar Mangal, coming back to you, this is also the age of social media. This is also the age where all parties, including the Congress party, are using all forms of communication and media to amplify their leaders, to amplify the voices. This is the election season, and I've seen multiple videos of Rahul Gandhi and other Congress leaders which are there on the social media platform each time he interacts with anyone. And if this time it was the Prime Minister of the country interacting with the players, what is such a big deal about it being taken objection to?
Like I said, I'm not objecting to the Prime Minister interacting with the players. I am holding to the point that even though you might ask for the rule number, you could probably look it up yourself, that it was a violation
as far
of
as
rules.
my research goes, there is no rule. There is no rule. That's why. Yeah, there's no rule. Yeah.
You're authoritatively saying that the ICC does not ban anybody but players and staff from entering the dress up?
After the match.
After the match.
After the match. Add that caveat to it and take me on record.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, I'll just say that I've heard otherwise, number one. Number two, I say that, one of the reasons why this whole Panauti thing has probably gathered steam is because a number of things about this entire tournament have been made about Mr. Modi, have been managed entirely by his Home Minister's son, who's been in that position for no merit of his entirely. He's now we've been now accused by Sri Lankan cricketers for ruining Sri Lankan cricket as well. Mr.
Varakan, I'll come to you. This won't serve the purpose of the argument. We'll come back to you, sir. Let Mr. Kumar Mangalam make his argument. Yes, Mr. Kumar.
The fact then that Kapil Dev, who was a previous World Cup winning captain, MS Dhoni, were not invited, was also doing the round. So there's a sort of a perfect storm of things that were basically not proper, that were done before the final. And the fact that the final was on this pitch, that it shouldn't have been played on, all these questions together led to a sort of, let's say, anger against Mr. Modi. And therefore, this whole Panauti came out and trended. I'm again asserting that the Congress party had no role and no part in sort of spreading this word which caught fire on Twitter.
What a big lie.
Let me ask one more question. Mr. Varakan, I'll come back to you.
Domain and saying Congress
he works in Congress IT cell, so he knows better than I. He's a clown. Again, now he got a liar.
One at a time. Mr. Varakan, my request to you, is let us refrain from personal attacks on each other. I am sure we have more to offer to this debate. Mr. Kumar Mangalam, I have taken objection to any kind of personal attacks. Mr. Kumar Mangalam, I am taking objection to any kind of personal attacks being taken at you. That's my request to the spokesperson. Sir, can we please focus on the matter at hand? Varakan, what
dishonest? Shall I call him dishonest? Call him a liar.
Well, sir, that's a personal comment to make, and you will have to substantiate it if you make that comment against anyone on television. Go ahead and make your argument.
You're a washed up person in a party that doesn't recognize you. Move on.
All right, let the tempers cool down a bit. I'll take the closing comments from Mr. Suman C. Raman and Mr. Sanjay Rana. Mr. Raman, perhaps too much importance being given by the politicians on the of a Prime Minister, which was only about consoling the cricket team, going meeting that. I mean, we all had heavy hearts when the team lost. So did the Prime Minister. I don't think such a big deal should have been made about it. And more importantly, a lot of criticism that was said to be quote-unquote criticism seemed to me like some kind of vicious attack. First, he was there to take credit, and then when he was consoling, even then there was a problem. So it doesn't add up to me.
Yeah, and I think there is too much of importance being given to what Rahul Gandhi said. One statement made in the course of a 30-minute speech where he asked for a caste census to be carried out, where he pointed out the issues of crony capitalism, where he highlighted the various issues, projects being done by Rajasthan government, and all that we could pick out was this Panauti remark, which again shows we are, the idea is to make it an issue and, try to gain some kind of sympathy on the back of it. I don't think this time it is going to have any kind of impact.
I want to flip the argument to you. I want to flip the argument to you. I want to flip the argument to you. I want to flip the argument and get your view also on this, because the other side of the argument is that the opposition is giving so much importance to this one particular video of the Prime Minister, because in this election season, they have nothing against him personally to take on the Prime Minister as a personality.
Opposition is not giving importance. You go and see what is happening on social media. You can go and see that this video has become meme material, which is not what the BJP would have liked at all. And that is why you see that this is the topic of debate on all national channels tonight. That very clearly shows that this is something that has hit home, and it is nothing. Even if Rahul Gandhi had not said it, this had already become a topic of debate and discussion in the country.
That is to say that any kind of consent or dissent on social media or any form of mass media is not manufactured. I'm sure Norm is going to disagree with that. Mr. Sanjay Rana, the argument is that it's the opposition that has made the narrative. This kind of narrative was going on social media for the last 3 to 4 days. Then why blame the opposition for it?
I don't think so. It's going on only on social media. It's not manufactured or structured by a opposition leader. How it started? Obviously, the opposition leader make a personal comment on. If you look at the Prime Minister gesture, obviously he went there. He is a common man. He behaved like a common man. Obviously, his media is encouraging his team. There's no harm on that. He's part of this society. He's a part of this country, and he has all right to meet the people. Why people are making objection? Because why they're making objection? There's a reason behind it. Haven't done this kind of activity or this kind of gesture in their life. That's the problem. They do not have any agenda against the Prime Minister. They are trying to find out from last 9 years how to attack the Prime Minister. If they do have any agenda, no. They do have any kind of allegation against the Prime Minister, no. They try to deframe. And please understand, they are not deframing Narendra Modi. They are deframing Prime Minister of India, which is very important for all of us to understand. Right. And we are disrespecting 50% people, those who are voted him. We need to understand whom we are.
Well, sir, I am of the view that our Prime Minister and our government should be critiqued, and that's the hallmark of Indian democracy or any other vibrant democracy. We are the world's largest and the most diverse democracy. Critique is fine, but these kind of narratives and statements don't show good on people who use them. And that's what the larger point was. I appreciate, gentlemen, for all of you joining us on the podcast tonight. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for joining us.